Hello and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. In today's episode, I want to look back at an old piece of software by NIK software, actually from the NIK collection, and this is all part of the NIK collection. This is Analog Efex Pro. This is a really cool piece of software, and I wanted to show it to you. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I know a lot of you have, but it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot to it. This tutorial gets a little intense at times because, man, there's just so much in it. And just to wrap your head all around it, it's not hard to use. I'm just going to be upfront with you and tell you it's not hard to use. But there's so much in it. There's so many different things you can do with it. You can add multiple filters inside of it. You can add control points, which NIK are famous for doing, to really customize the look of the image. It's really awesome. So let's dive into it. And this is not a tutorial on it today, although I am moving some sliders around. I'm showing you how some things work, just so I can tweak your interest in this piece of software. And I'm really interested in what your thoughts are about it. So please leave comments and questions in the comments section below, and let's dialogue about this. I'd really like to hear your thoughts on Analog Efex Pro too. So without any further ado, let's get started. What I've done here is duplicated my background layer, and today I just want to show you the possibilities of artistic creation that you can get by using Analog Efex Pro 2. It's not going to be a tutorial on it, but I just want to show you all the different ways you can alter your picture. Not all the different ways, but just some ideas of what you can do with this particular piece of software. So let's come up here to Filter, and let's come to NIK Collection and click on Analog Efex Pro 2. Now here we are. Now it comes up and it gives you a preset look right here. All right. And you can come, and right now we're in Classic Camera, and you have all these different presets inside of this one effect called Classic Camera. And so you can just come here and find one that you like. Say for instance you might like this faded look here. Click on it, and there it is. And if you look to the right-hand side of the interface, these are the filters that are involved to give you this look. There's a basic adjustment, dirt and scratches, lens, vignette, and film type. Now, if you see where these are checked off here, if I uncheck this here, I'll shut off the film type. Now, let's click on the film type again. And now you'll notice we're in this warm group here, and this is a drop-down menu. Now, let me click this, and you'll see we have cool. We have subtle, black and white neutral, black and white tone. Say we want a black and white image, a black and white toned image. We click this here, and then we have these presets inside of here. So here's like a sepia tone here. Here's more cooler tones, and a little more like a reddish tone there. So pretty cool, right? So you can come in here and play with these guys, and then you can adjust how strong the effect is. So I can pull this back, or go with a more faded look. And so you can play and just get this looking just the way you like it. And you can adjust the strength of it as well. And so we can take that tone off, or just add as little or as much as we want. But look at that. That's, in my opinion, that's beautiful. I like this kind of an image, actually. But that's Classic Camera. And then you can come up here and see this little arrow here. So click on this, and inside of here we have all these different tool combinations. Classic Camera, black and white, color cast, subtle bokeh, wet plate, motion, double exposure, toy cameras, all kind of stuff. And then we have these tools here. These are the tools that you see over here. And a different combination of these tools will be made up in these different settings here. For instance, if I go to wet plate, I'm going to get a whole new set of presets over here. And let me click on wet plate 5. Okay, there's a wild one. That looks like an old photograph. That's really cool. And you'll notice now these adjustments are in there. Basic adjustments, bokeh, dirt and scratches, photo plate. So if I shut off photo plate, that's what it looks like. If I shut off dirt and scratches, see the dirt and scratches? They go away. This is something cool with the dirt and scratches. Let me click on dirt and scratches and open this up. See right here where it says strength, it's at -100. Watch when I move this to the right. Okay, they fade like till I get to the center, and they fade out. Now watch when I move it to the right, now they turn dark. So you can have dark scratches, you can have light scratches. That's pretty cool, and any shade in between, which is which is a lot of fun. So you can really play around in here and have a lot of fun with this thing. Let's go to this wet plate here. All right, and you might say, I like it, but that photo plate's a little strong for me, so I can take that strength on the photo plate and back that off. So it's really nice, and you can change these photo plates here. Right now we're on the streak set right here. If I click this drop down, I can go to corroded, and let's try another one of these. So there's corroded. It's really nice. I mean, we have all kind of effects in here. Now, say for instance, I would say, I'd like to add like a border to this. So I can come over here where it says wet plate, go back to this little arrow here, click it, and say build a camera. Now when you select build a camera, all these effects will stay here that were part of this wet plate. But when you click on build a camera kit, now you'll notice over here, you have this set of filters here, which are making up these filters here. Now the ones that you see in the highlighted color, those are the ones that are part of that particular set of the wet plate. But if I wanted to come and add a frame, I could come here to frames. It's grayed out right now. I can click this, and now the frames get added to the stack over here. And there's different types of frames. Now we're in film strip, so we're on this particular one right here, but I can change it to, let's go to this one right here. Click on this, and now we have that one. Now I can come and adjust the scale of this. So do you see the limitless possibilities here? You can do some really cool stuff with this. And then I can come to the drop down and let's click on Lightbox. And now here's a whole nother group of different frames. So let's click on the first one. Takes a little bit of time to render because it's got to render this into the image. Okay, so there's that one. Let's take the scale and move it to the right. And so that's what that one looks like. Let's get this guy right here and see what he looks like. So there's that one. And again, I can adjust the scale of it. Or I may say, you know what? I don't want it, so I can just uncheck it here. But say I did like it, and I thought, I want to save this as a preset, so I want to have it for later. So what I can do now is come here where it says save, click on save, and let's call this old photograph, for lack of a better title, and say OK. I'll just click this here. And now my custom settings come up here. I have a custom setting for a basic adjustment, so if I ever want to go back to the original, I can just click this real quick. But there's my old photograph right there. So watch, I'll click on basic adjustment, and there's my original image. Here's my old photograph, and that sets that up. All right, so there's old photograph. And then I can come to cameras, and here's my camera kit here. Now, this is, remember, is the last thing I've done here, so let's click here. But I may say, you know what, I want to try a vintage camera. So let's click on vintage camera, and now I have all these presets that make up the vintage camera group. So let's find one we kind of like. Let's say I like this guy right here, vintage camera 8. Click it, and it applies a bunch of filters to give me that look right there. Okay, so you might say, well, it's a little too faded, and so we could go to the film type here, right here where it says faded. We can pull this back a little bit, add a little bit more contrast. But then we may say, you know what, I like it a little bit lighter, so we can come up to adjustments, and let's brighten it up a little bit. So pretty cool. So you can see, you can do whatever you want. And it's not that hard to use, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of possibilities here. Now we have saturation. We can bump up the saturation on the image. Okay, we can give it more contrast. We can take contrast away. So that's pretty nice. Let's keep exploring. Let's go to my custom section right here, my custom folder, and click on my basic adjustment just to reset it back to the original photograph. And let's recap a little bit. So if we go to cameras here, we're going to see vintage camera, and we click here and we see all the different tool combinations we could use here. So we can go to our classic camera, our black and white camera, and all these different ones. Now on Vogue, this is new for those who have the latest version of the NIK collection, and this is a paid version, but if you get it and you update, you get this on Vogue. And this is a bunch of new presets for us here. So let's just explore this a little bit. Let's go in here and let's go to type 55.9. I don't know how they came up with that name, but I'm sure it stands for something. So there's that one right there. And then again, over here, all these filters make up that particular preset. And so we can shut things off, add things to it. So that's where the possibilities are limitless, right? Because you can do so much to it, and you just got to play around with it. And right now in basic adjustments, this is a really cool slider, detail extraction. So we can pull more detail out of this image, or take less, take detail away from the image. Now, let's add detail here. But what if I said, you know what? I want detail here, but I don't want it in the background. So I can come, see where it says control point. And this is a cool thing about NIK software, control points. And they were the first people, and maybe the only people that have ever done control points. And they're awesome. So let's click control points. And let's add a control point right here. And say we don't want it in this background here. So if I click right here and make this bigger and take the detail and pull it back. So see, I can remove the detail from that area. Now if I option click this and move it over another section, I can take the detail off of there, and maybe down in here I can remove the detail and find little areas to where it's looking right. And you can move these guys around. And then I might option click again and say, you know what, I want another one here. Okay. So now I have the detail here. Now let's get another control point. And to make sure I got this detail here, let's click right here and see that detail comes back. Now I can adjust this. I can pull up more detail right in this area here. Okay. I can come, option click this, grab this, move it over here to this one up here. And now watch, I'll take this detail back off of this one. Isn't that cool? So I can come and play around. I can readjust this one to add more or less detail there. So I find this really fascinating. And again, this is not a tutorial on this. I just want to show you the possibilities. This piece of software right here, this plugin, is really nice for really creating. So if you ever get in a dry spell of creativity and you're not sure what to do, pop open Analog Efex Pro 2 and just really start to play around with it. And if you get something you like, remember you can come and save it as a preset. Let's explore some more here. So let's go back to where it says on Vogue. Now let's click this little arrow here. And let's try one called Toy Camera. And let's look at some of the presets in here. So we have these different toy camera looks. Like this one adds like a distortion like you would get in a toy camera. And again, all these different filters make it up. Like this one right here, lens distortion for pincushion effects. And we can defocus by adjusting this up. And let's try the pincushion here. See how it's adding a weird pincushioning effect to the image, like a barrel distortion. So again, simulating a toy camera. Chromatic aberration. There's different types, red, cyan, or we can go to green, magenta. And if you look up in here, you can see that green and magenta there. Let's change it to blue and yellow. And now, I don't notice that one as much, but there'd be a blue and yellow in there somewhere. And let's click on red and cyan. And here you can see that distortion in here. So that's pretty cool. That's some chromatic aberrations that it's adding. I know we're always trying to remove these kind of things, but when you're going for something artistic, hey, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want. There's nobody there to tell you, don't do that. This is all about art. Remember, art is about having fun. And that's why I like to call my channel The Joy of Editing, because I like to have fun with my images. You got to have fun with these things. Now let's come up to basic adjustments and say, you know what? Let's pull a little more detail out of this image. So we can come here and pop some detail out. And so we can play around. We might say, you know what, I want a little more saturation. Something like that. And there's lens blurs, and you can see it right here. So what if I uncheck this right here? I'd get rid of that lens blur. See that on the edges there? And there's that, you can see that chromatic aberration right around the edges. Okay, and on some of these points of this flower here. Let's turn that zoom and rotate blur back on. And let's click this open. And because when I hover over here, see this? This is an overlay here. So you can move this guy around and adjust where the blur is going to be or not going to be. So what's in the center of this circle is not going to get the blur. See, watch if I move it over here. See how I can shift where that blur is going to be. I can adjust the sizes of these things. I can adjust how it graduates out. So no effect here, and this is a graduation point from here out to here, and then the full effect out here. So we can change this gradation here. So, and again, like I said, we can move it around. We can make it smaller and just make it appear in a certain point. So it's pretty cool stuff, right? You have to admit it. And remember this, you can come back over here to this little arrow right here and click this and come down to build a camera, click on camera kit, and you can add any other effect in here that you would like. For instance, what if we wanted to add a levels and curves to this? So we can come here and then we can adjust our curve here. Add a little contrast with that curve. And you can also come and do a luminosity curve. You can do a red and now the luminosity curve, I just want to point out, when you use that, it's not going to affect your colors when you adjust it, because whenever you add contrast to an image, you're going to affect the color. You're going to get a more of a color pop in your image when you make a more contrasty looking curve. So if you set it on luminosity, it's not going to affect the color, so that's cool. But what if we go to red here, and you see the little red line here? So if I want to add more red to my image, I can pull this up. If I pull down, we're going to add more cyan. So remember, red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow. So the opposite of red is cyan. The opposite of green is magenta, and the opposite of blue is yellow. So there, I'm adding some more magenta or more cyan to my image here. Not necessarily liking that, but maybe right around there. Looks good. And let's go to blue. If I pull up on blue, I'm going to add more blue to the image, but if I pull down, I'm going to add yellow to the image. Okay, so you can play around with that. So you can color your images with the curves, so that's a nice feature too. So remember, all you have to do is come over here and add any one of these filters to that stack. And you can also save it as a preset when you're all said and done. Now, once you're happy with your image, all you need to do is come down here and click on OK. And that'll bring us back into Photoshop. Takes a few seconds to render out here because we've done a lot to this image, man. We've added a ton of filters on this thing. And there it is, right there. So that's Analog Efex Pro 2. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It's a lot of fun. Honestly, it's not that hard. I know it may have looked like complicated, but there's just a lot of things in it, and you just have to adjust the things and play with it. But it's a lot of fun. You want to spend some time in it and get to know it, play around with it, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Let me know your comments on this particular piece of software and any questions that you have on things about it. I'll be happy to answer them. And also, let me know what you think of this piece of software and if you think this is something that you could add to your workflow. And let me know if you think it's something worth using or not worth using. I personally think it's really awesome, and I've used it many times, and I've got some great results with it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you liked it, please like and share it with your friends, and also if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and click the bell notification icon. This way you'll be informed every time I upload a new training tutorial. I'm going to be looking a lot more at the NIK collection. Okay, I'm on the website here. And man, look, there's Color Efex Pro, awesome, Silver Efex Pro. This is one of the best pieces of software for editing black and white images. Vivesa for making adjustments on your images without using luminosity masks. It's really amazing. And of course, we looked at Analog Efex Pro today. get these kind of images. Let me just slide across the slider. There's the before and there's the after. So you can get really cool effects with that. HDR Efex Pro, I don't really use that. I'm not really into HDR, but there's the Sharpener Pro, there's the Fine. It's just a nice suite of software for editing your images, and we're going to look at that deeper coming down the road here. So again, thanks for joining me today in The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly, and I'll see each and every one of you right here next time. But until then, happy editing.